Have you ever spent 4 hours trying to put together an IKEA bookshelf, only to realize you have leftover screws and a panel was attached backwards? Or is that just me? But after the frustration fades and you kind of feel this weird sense of pride, don't you? Like, hey, look at me, I built this thing and now I can actually use it. It just gives you that sense of accomplishment. So the pride isn't just about the do-it-yourself part. It's actually a behavioral psychology tactic. And if it sounds weird, we'll get into this. So give me a minute. But today we're using this concept, which is known as the IKEA effect, for real, to create marketing that people can't resist. You're listening to the High Conversion Health Marketer Podcast. I'm your host, Linda Melone, certified conversion copywriter, award-winning content writer, and founder of the Copyworks. My clients have seen conversion rates jump up more than 40%, and one email sequence landed a $70,000 contract for another client. So trust me, you're in the right place if you're looking to jack up your conversions and make more sales. So this week's topic popped up as an idea for me. I was walking down the cake aisle at the supermarket, and it was miles and miles of cake mixes. And Dolly Parton even has a branded mix. So as a former pastry chef, seriously, in another lifetime, but I was a pastry chef, I'm looking at these mixes and I'm thinking, wow, this is kind of, people consider this like a freshly baked dessert. Like I consider that cheating using a mix. And that same feeling was among its customers back in 1947 that nearly sank Betty Crocker cake mixes. Here's why, and here's what you can learn from that situation and from the furniture assembly situation as well. So let's set the scene. So it's post-war, World War II, America. Betty Crocker, which by the way, never existed. That's just a totally made up name. I don't know if you know that, but it sounds like a Betty Crocker would be a housewife that would love to bake cakes, I guess. So Betty Crocker introduces instant cake mixes. They're quick, they're easy, they're affordable. What's not to love with a mix that you just have to add some water and you throw it in the oven and you serve your family this great dessert and they think you're awesome. But the problem was sales weren't taking off. In fact, they were plateauing. Homemakers weren't buying it. And General Mills, who's the parent company, they were at a loss. They could not figure out what was wrong. They had this perfect thing. You just add water. Why is it not selling? And so they actually hired psychologists to come in, talk to their customers, talk to homemakers, and figure out what was going on. It turns out the homemakers felt guilty for exactly the reason I mentioned earlier, because it was too easy. There was no sense of accomplishment or ownership. You just add water. I mean, anyone can do that, right? So psychologists discovered that the issue wasn't the product itself. It was just the fact that there was no sense of accomplishment or ownership, like I mentioned about putting together a piece of furniture. So the fix, this is a classic case of less is more. They removed the powdered egg mix, part of the mix, and they required people to add an egg. So now they have this mix, they have to crack an egg, put it in there. I imagine they also added the water and boom, sales skyrocketed. So this tiny little change turned guilty homemakers into proud bakers. It was like when you crack an egg, I guess you're basically competing with Bobby Flay, it's seemingly. So let's talk about what is going on with this IKEA effect. This is based on one of the most studied cognitive biases in behavioral economics. So cognitive bias is a mental shortcut that causes people to make mistakes in thinking or judgment. It's like they assume things about people because they have one bit of information about them. So it can lead to irrational decisions or errors. And I was doing a little research and it turns out there's 180, probably more than that, cognitive biases. And it's like if you meet somebody and you find out they went to the same school that you went to, you have a perception of them. They must be maybe a particular fan of your school's football team, or they must be, whatever it is, you have this in common. So there's some assumptions that immediately get made. And they may be wrong, they may be right. but you're making this sweeping generalization. So the whole thing with this egg situation, it was a behavioral economist named Dan Ariely. He says that this cognitive bias is that people assign greater value to things they help create, even if the contribution is minimal. So think about things like the Build-A-Bear, right? When you go in, I've never done it, but I know people who have, and you go in and you actually build your own little teddy bear. There's a sense of ownership. This is like something you made, or one of those painting or pottery art classes, same thing. So in this particular case, though, there was another psychological factor involved, which is guilt, because adding that egg introduced like a little bit of meaningful effort, reduced the guilt, and making the process seem closer to baking from scratch. It was far from baking from scratch, but I'm saying that as someone who used to bake from scratch all the time. And yes, it's named after the IKEA, the furniture company that reduces do-it-yourselfers to tears on the phone, hiring a handyman for $200 to assemble a $75 bookcase. Or maybe that's just me. Okay, so the examples are, assembling furniture, even if it's wobbly, hey, it's mine. It's my wobbly desk. Choosing personalized features on a product can also give a person a sense of, ownership. Participating in brainstorming or product development. When I first graduated college, I was involved I worked in a test kitchen of all things and developing products like for food companies. And we had to sit behind a one-way mirror and listen to people completely bash our ideas. And that was, the people were getting paid to do this. They probably felt good that they were getting, they had a hand in whether or not this product was going to make it to store shelves. But for people who were actually involved in development, not so much. But why this matters in reality is like customers who feel a sense of ownership are also customers who are loyal. They don't just buy, they invest emotionally. It's part of them. It's like, I made this. And so that emotional investment equals stronger customer relationships, higher engagement, and therefore better conversions. Think about that show. There was a home building show or a home improvement show, Love It or List It, where people either got to love their new home that they chose or their old home that had been renovated. And from what I could see, they almost always chose the home that they had that was renovated because they knew their home. That was theirs. They have this emotional investment in it. I never expected people to choose the other one. They rarely did, but those are fixed anyway. So anyway, but the most important thing about this whole idea is how can you apply it to your marketing? And it's not only easy to do, but it's fun. And everyone, you'll like it and you'll get great results in analytics from it. And your people who are participating will also enjoy it. So what you want to do is there's 3 practical ways to use the IKEA effect in your marketing. So number 1 is to have interactive content. People love being involved in creating their experience, as I mentioned. So quizzes, polls, interactive tools are perfect for sparking this engagement. So BuzzFeed is known for this. They had viral quizzes. Which Disney princess are you? A health brand could use quizzes like, what's your perfect post-workout protein shake? And so they're not just taking a quiz, it's about them. They're building a personalized result. It's fun, it's memorable. And again, it gives them ownership of the outcome. Number 2, customization options. If you can let customers customize their products or service so they feel a sense of ownership, that will also create that emotional bond. So I mentioned Build-A-Bear Workshop. Kids literally build their own stuffed animals. A furniture brand that could offer fabric options or color options to give buyers creative control. Or recently, when I leased a new car, I chose the color. I chose what I wanted the inside to be. It gave me that sense of like, this is a car. This is exactly what I want. Mainly because the dealer tried to sell me something I didn't want. And I said, I'm walking away. I don't want a blue car. I want a black car, and so on. So And then they're designing their own home or they're designing their own product. So that's really powerful. Okay, so number 3 is membership programs that have user input. So membership programs work well, but they work better when users contribute ideas. So and I've seen a few contests like brands that are doing this. Usually it's a food brand. Like I think Ben and Jerry's has contests where they have people choose their flavors. Don't quote me on that, but I'm almost positive about that. A coffee subscription box where members can vote on new flavors. That would be part of this IKEA effect. Hey, I built this myself. A SaaS company that lets users suggest features and acknowledges top contributors. It's like, hey, I see my name up there. And loyalty programs where members can earn points for participating and not just purchasing. So they had Lay's potato chips had, do us a flavor campaign where people submitted flavor ideas, voted on them, and even some wild ones actually made it to the shelves. And suddenly people weren't just eating the chips, they were actually part of the process. See this, what would it be? Avocado, hot sauce, chocolate, potato chip. That was my idea. Okay, not my idea, but I'm just saying. So why it works, there's 3 psychological factors going on here with the IKEA effect. You have the effort, which is the investment in the product or the idea. And then once you have that investment, you have an emotional attachment. I built this little bear. And then it's loyalty. Hey, I want to go to another Build-A-Bear workshop because this is fun kind of thing. So let's wrap up this whole episode. So the IKEA effect isn't just this cool psychology trick. It's fun, but it's also an effective marketing tactic. So whether you're using quizzes, customization, or membership programs, giving your customers a chance to contribute increases their emotional connection and ultimately their loyalty. So this week, my challenge for you is to experiment with the IKEA effect in your own marketing. Maybe you can create a fun quiz, offer a small customization option, launch a poll to gather customer input. Quizzes are always fun and they're great lead magnets too. There's a whole business around them. And people want to know more about themselves. You make it about them. What type of SaaS user are you, or what kind of fitness coach are you? Whatever it is that is related to your business, people want to know about that. And then you ask them for their email and then they're on your list. Just make sure you tell them that. So DM me on LinkedIn if you want me to know how you're doing it, or just send me an email at linda@thecopyworks.com. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this episode, tell your friends about it. Leave a review on your favorite platform. And I will see you next week.